can be upfront and honest and say, actually in this application, I think this product over here that I don't represent would be better for you. That all of a sudden now you become a trusted advisor rather than a salesman.
And I often say that we have all the requirements of space, right? Because it has to go underground and send us data from miles and miles away, and it has to work. Like, failure is not an option.
We'll put on, a standard mule shoe. Ours is slightly different just for that, but it's, everybody's got one.
The top drive and the drawworks really don't care whether the electrons coming at it are from a joystick or a PLC.
The panel, what you see here on the left, which is now controlled by one of my students, is showing you actually the control of our brakes.
As of now, geothermal is a pretty small market.
If you have tortuosity, the casing will be up against the side on part of the well. There won't be any cement there. The cement will have crested around it.
So managed pressure drilling, it's been defined as a process to precisely control the pressure profile in the wellbore.
The key is being transparent with our clients in this case. So tell them what happened. If we had a failure, tell them exactly what happened. Whether it's our fault, whether it's whatever the issue was, we need to be transparent.
I think it's very important for everyone in the industry to know what's out there and kind of what's happening downhole as well.
I've probably worked on over 40 different performance limiters in my career. If I miss any of those and the computer is raising weight on bit and I miss any of those, I have a train wreck. The computer's going in the ocean.
Here's your new colors, here's your new thing. We don't do that at all.
Here's the tattoo you need to get.
Yeah, here's the tattoo. Sorry about the last one. We used to fake that all the time.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. We're trying this a second time. I have no idea if this is even working on LinkedIn yet. I'm trying. It might be one of these things where I'm just going to have to abandon ship on one of the ideas, but I'm not 100% sure on it's working now. I've been told it's working now. All right. I think it's probably because I closed a couple of things out and moved a couple of things around. So, all right. I think what I'm going to have to do here is, let's delete that. Put this one up. That might help out. I think what the problem is, we're trying to do something kind of fun, and I think the CPU usage is just going crazy right now. So, welcome to the show, you guys. This is the Vidor Locksmith Show, where we're bringing you the secrets to success in the oil and gas industry. One interview, one presentation, and a dozen technical screw-ups at a time. Thank you guys for being here. Let me know where you guys are watching from. I apologize for being so late on this. Nate, thanks for tuning in, sir. Clay, thanks for being here. We've got people watching from Spain. Patty, always tuning in. Thank you. Oh, man. Gerardo watching in from Venezuela. Be sure to tune in April 1st when we're going to be going live with Luis Gonzalez. Let me see. Where did it go? There it is. There's the button. Luis will be here. Got to take the comment off the screen first. Hello. All right. April 1st, everything solamente en Español. Lots of stuff to be able to go through. Trying to be able to get all of this figured out. Doing a lot of little crazy stuff here. Having fun with it. So, guys, I'm doing things a little bit different today. I'm trying to have as much fun with it as I can. So, we still have to do our Minute with Keith, and I know it's coming in a little bit slower than normal. I can't even see how many people are watching. I hope there's plenty of people out there. Paul Student from Aberdeen. David is from Monahans, Texas. James Harris from Calgary. Ooh. Hello from Brazil. Wow, we got tons of people. All right, Daniel, my business partner, tuning in from San Antonio, Texas. I'll be in San Antonio later today, sir, to be able to visit my brother and his daughter. So, don't know if you're around and we can socially distance and hang out, but love to see you, sir. Leroy from Mumbai. Wow, you stayed up late. Gramsci, I pulled your thing up, so if you've got questions, here we go. Good morning. Don't worry, better late than never. Rocking and rolling. Graham is an amazing person. I can't wait to be able to get him back on the show and be able to do a lot more stuff. He owes me an email of all the different things he wants to teach you guys. All right. 39 listed on LinkedIn. 39 what? What's 39? My 39 minutes late. I'm not that far. Oh, 39 viewers. Somebody's here in the set today giving it away. All right. Since we do have somebody on set today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play a quick little intro and we're going to have some fun here. You guys, you ready for this? Be back with you in just a second.
Thanks for having me again, David. As you can see, I'm coming live from the Suez Canal. I know it's quite windy and blowing here as the world's superpowers fight over what to do to get trade back on track again, as the Suez Canal has been blocked by the massive tanker that is in the canal right now. The battle is ongoing. It is tense here, very tense situation. I'm expanding my field in, just beyond wireline now reporting on these world events, coming to you live from the Suez Canal, trying my best to get a handle on the situation. I don't know exactly what I'm doing here, but I'm definitely trying to bring you a little bit of more fun, color to the show today. And definitely, if you can guess it, this was definitely not one of the probably my better ideas of what I'm definitely mumbling at this point. So thank you, David. Let's cut back and let's get back to the show. Thank you for having me once again.
Welcome back, everybody. And that was Keith Stelter reporting live from the Suez Canal. Obviously, a very tense situation going on there as he reported. Very happy to be able to have him in the field reporting for us. Do me a favor real quick. On the back of that one, just where the touch screen is, just touch my face on the screen. There we go. I keep forgetting to take the autofocus off of the freaking camera. So as you can see, Keith is actually here out at the studio with me. So having a lot of fun with this one, you guys. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring Chris on now because Chris has been waiting around for like 30 minutes now to be able to come on the show. Chris, thank you so much for being here, man. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for being kind. Yeah.
It was definitely good reporting by Keith there in the Suez Canal, and my dad was actually a merchant marine captain, so kind of interesting to see what he thinks about that. I haven't heard back from him yet, but kind of waiting to see what his response is to that happening, since he was a captain for about 15 years.
Oh wow, that's awesome! I would love to be able to go interview one of those guys right now and just be able to talk to them like you guys feel bad? What's your feed? How do they feel right now? What are they thinking about? I can only imagine. It's bad enough when you're out at the rig site and something goes wrong and you've been up forever and you're like, all right, well, at some point in time you got to go to sleep, and then you wake up and the problem is still there. I can only imagine how they feel right now having to go through that.
Yeah, and to be on a world stage all over the news and all that, when you're just trying to do your job, that's definitely tough. So, yeah, I'll let you know what my dad's perspective is on it, since he was in that chair before, right? So,
I can only imagine also as well as there's a possibility here that maybe they just did it on purpose because they wanted a couple of days off. You know, somebody got paid to just, hey man, just park this thing sideways and like give us all just a couple of days to sit here and do nothing and collect the paycheck. I mean, I've heard of people throwing wrenches down holes, so I mean, it's not too far off.
This is probably a career killer though, so I don't know.
Yeah, somebody just wants to retire to a beach somewhere. They're expediting this expeditiously. Chris, give us a quick background on who you are as we're still getting all of the comments and stuff rolling in. I think that we're operating on a little bit of a time delay. So
sure.
I think because nobody has commented on Keith being at the Suez Canal yet. So I think there's a little bit of time delay before we start seeing all of those comments fill in.
No, sounds good. Yeah. So I'm an Aggie Petroleum Engineering graduate from 2013. I got out and I went and ran MWD tools for Sperry actually for about 1.5 years. And I was able to do both land and offshore when it was kind of blowing and going. So I got some really good experience there. And then I moved on to a small operator who is now Silverbow Resources, which was Swift Energy at the time, and got my first kind of operator role there and worked nights and had a really good experience. And actually my first mentor in the oil field, I would say I met there. And then following Swift, kind of hit a little bit of turbulence in my oil field career with the slowdown in 2016. So I took a year off and actually worked at a cement distribution plant in Houston. It was a startup company, and worked there as an operations engineer and kind of helped them get going with their product distribution, just ordering equipment, making sure that they were up to their safety standards, things like that. And then, so after about a year off the oil field, I got back in with Jagged Peak Energy, worked out in Monahan's Pio in the field, and was a field drilling engineer for them. But they basically went from a 1-rig program to a 6-rig program overnight, and kind of helped them out with a lot of things to get them rolling. And about a year after that, went to Marathon Oil, where I was the last 3 years, and worked the Permian Basin. They kind of got him kicked off there, and then the Bakken asset for the last 1.5 years, and then got laid off maybe like a month ago. And since then, I've been lucky enough to have good contacts in the industry that I've got some stuff cooking, some things going, and it's really important to keep all your contacts in your network, because ultimately, when things happen, they're going to be the ones that, know somebody, and it's a tight network. And just make sure you never burn a bridge, because, I've learned, through all of my moves, it's always been just from my network and knowing people and having those type of contacts is very important. And it's just, for everyone out there looking for a job, it's, just stay patient and humble and hungry. And if you do those things, you can definitely get aligned where you need to be. So,
well, Chris, thank you so much for that background. I'm going to say hi to a couple of people just because, we've gotten a lot more people to be able to say hi. So Jay says everything's working well now. I hope so. We had some little bit of troubles there earlier. Rolf tuned in. We've got Wonka from Saudi Arabia. Carlos is tuning in. Duncan's tuning in again. Man, he's coming in here on the regular. Leroy, Clay, David Pope, LinkedIn user. Man, I love it when LinkedIn user shows up. It's like the most faithful fan of the show is LinkedIn user, 100%. Joshua says, giggle. So I guess the timing's working, right? No, I guess nobody said anything about Keith reporting from the Suez Canal. So Charles tuning in from Calgary. I know it's supposed to be Calgary, but it's always funny to say words a little bit different when things happen. Carlos, and then Sunil, Sunil is the design graphics artist of the show, and so the little graphic and everything that we put out this week was done by him. So big shout out to Sunil. Appreciate all of the help there. How about tuning in from Iran? And then JP says, great seeing the two top hands on Friday morning. Well, JP, thanks for tuning in, sir. I appreciate it. He's the host of Round the Rotary podcast over at Capital Petroleum Consultants. Give him a call if you're looking for consultants, or give him a listen. And he just dropped one this week with Riley Norris from over at Patriot Directional Drilling Services. Great group of guys there. Obviously, Riley's a good friend of mine, great guy. So y'all go give that one a listen. I haven't done it yet, but it's on my to-do list for this weekend. Then Oscar also says hello. So Oscar, thanks for being here. Sorry, guys. I want the show to be interactive. I know it takes a little bit of time, but like, if you're going to tune into my show and comment, I owe you at least to be able to put your name and stuff up on the screen. And I appreciate everybody who does tune in. And I know we don't always get to all the questions, but I try to do my best. All right, Chris. So one of the things that really interested me, that you started out with MWD and then you've ended up being a drilling engineer in that transition. And I know it was over time and you had the, cementing job there in the middle. What's the biggest thing that you've learned going from being on the service side of the business to being a drilling engineer and working on the operator side?
Yeah. So I would say, because I get this question all the time, if I go to like, any type of networking event and I tell them my history, it's always like, how did you cross over? I know it's very difficult. But back to what I was saying earlier is 100%. It's all about networking, making sure you're making the right contacts, keeping everybody's phone number. I actually got my opportunity at Swift from a tailgate that I attended a year and a half before. This gentleman I met, he was an important person at Swift. I kept his card, and honestly, I would email him every couple months and just check in with him, let him know kind of what I've been doing. And he would stay in contact with me. So you never know in what setting, what opportunity that you're going to have that chance to make that crossover. But from the perspective side, I would say working as a service hand in the field, coming out of the school, you're not very high on the totem pole. You're more there. They're wanting you to learn quickly and be available, right? And I was 23 at the time, wasn't married, didn't have kids, so expectation was, you're going to work as much as you want, right? And at that time it was busy, and to kind of gain understanding of the operation from the service side and understanding okay, how does the company man get his orders? How does that kind of happen? When you're on site, the company man was the guy, but then understanding that he's taking orders from someone else, and I was really interested in seeing the other side of it. So as a service guy, you're there to kind of help the operation out in any way you can. Whereas the operator, you're kind of seeing more of the big picture. What are we trying to accomplish here? And, my thing is consistency. And that's what I've tried to deliver my whole career, is making sure that whatever we're doing, whatever we're trying to accomplish, that we deliver over and over and again. And I think that's the message that you'll hear from a lot of operators, and what they're trying to do with their drilling is they want to make sure they know what they're going to get when they go to drill a well. And they don't want these outliers, right?
Now, having said that, you transitioned from going from, obviously from the service side to the operator side, then what is the information? What should the people that are on the service side know and understand that you are obviously able to learn on the operator side? Because that, to me, I think it's what's crazy is you don't really see very often people going from the operator side back to the service side. Or if they do, they're usually in a very executive level position. So I know it would mean a lot probably to myself and to a lot of the people that are listening and watching, to be able to better understand, what do we need to know about that side of the industry relationship to be able to better serve a drilling engineer and the operator?
Yeah, I would say be available at all times. Be, I'm going to say that, but I'm saying like you don't want to be overbearing, but you want to be available at all times. And if you've got a problem, like if I was having a problem with a well, or having a tough time building a curve, I would rely on certain vendors, on certain either motor bit vendors that I trust and I built a relationship with, and that I knew would help me with that issue, with that problem, and be able to provide that engineering support along with the products that you have, and just being able to build that relationship where at an operator, as a drilling engineer, you're not only doing drilling, you're making sure that you're staying ahead of the plan. You're working with production folks, completion folks. There's a lot more involved in kind of the bigger picture items. And so, when you do hit a roadblock in operations, it's important for you as a vendor to be able to be available, to have suggestions, to even go out of your way and say like, okay, I know this operator is having this success in the same area, and to be able to share some of that information, that's super valuable. And it's something that at an operator that we really take a look at and make sure that we understand those things.
Well, I know everybody likes to be able to share information except for the operators.
Yeah, right.
So Nate LaRue has a question. It says, hey, Chris, are drilling engineers really that busy, or do they just not want to talk to salespeople that they don't already know? What is the best way to introduce products, in your opinion? I hope you land somewhere soon, Nate LaRue. So I know that's like the eternal question from oilfield sales to drilling engineers is, what's the best way to make that introduction?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Cold calling, I'd say, is very difficult unless you've got a proven product in the market and that you're able to, share some data that's really impressive. If you have a product that's maybe new to the market, I would say, you have to have that relationship with someone already built and established, because, if I'm trying something new, I'm sticking my neck out there. I'm putting myself kind of in a position where if something goes wrong, they're going to end up saying, okay, where did this come from? Right. So there's got to be a good reason for using a product. And so I would say that drilling engineers are busy, but they probably can make time if it's something that's worth their time, in my opinion. And to me, I would always look at products that, when I'm talking to operators from other companies or other drilling engineers, and I would say, hey, what do you see? What have you tried that works lately? Or like, so having other drilling engineers kind of rep your product and do that, that's obviously the best tool, sales pitch that you can have. And that's going to have your strongest impact. So really building a relationship with one drilling engineer, trying to make sure that they understand your product, and focusing on your product, working with them. And once you achieve that success, then that'll compound, and they'll be able to, as long as they're, talking to other people in the industry, they're going to be able to rep your product and really, really push it forward. Because I think drilling engineers in general now are sharing more information than ever before. I think it happens between us more, not in a social media presence, but just between us, and just like either over email or over, we've even gone to lunch or shared text messages. So I would say I was talking to at least 5 or 6 different operators that were drilling around the area all the time, probably on like a weekly to bi-weekly basis. Just so that everyone kind of stayed involved. And there was definitely products that I brought to the basin that other operators started bringing, and so it definitely can happen that way.
Well, it's good to be able to hear that directly from the source, as opposed to always having to guess. As far as maybe hearing about stuff other than just trying to do the cold calls and cold emails. something to where it would actually incite you to be able to reach out to somebody. Is there, going to events or publications or just seeing something on LinkedIn, is that another great, are any of those another methodology that you think that, potentially oil field service companies should add to their, marketing budget to be able to grab the attention of drilling engineers?
Yeah, so I attended ATC in 2019, and I was in the Permian at that time, and I would say I probably found like 3 or 4 products that interested me during that conference, and I was really able to push it to marathon at that point, and we ran some of those products. So I would say those exhibitions at those conferences, if you can do a good job of displaying what your tool has done, and I know it's expensive to do those exhibitions, but in my opinion, you reach a lot of important and good groups of people in those types of atmospheres. So I would say conferences are probably good. I mean, social media is always good, but I'd say I would probably recommend the conferences over anything else.
You mean the virtual rotary steerable conference held by Gibson Reports, that one?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and hey, by the way, David, I didn't even say thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I've been watching your stuff for a couple years now, and I've always been interested. And during the slowdown in 2015, I always had the idea of, why is there not more like social media or podcasts about oil and gas? So I love to see what you're doing, as well as JP and flipping the barrel and what Justin's doing. So it's really good to have this online presence, and honestly, it's good for the industry. It gets people talking, and it solves problems, because it really does. It gets people working together that otherwise wouldn't be. So appreciate that. And another thing is, yo hablo español también. Si quieres practicar esta semana para la próxima, está bien.
No, I'm not even going to try right now.
I put you on the spot. I put you on the spot. It's all good.
I've got a lot of practice to do until next week. I do.
Yeah.
Yo puedo hablar, yo puedo escribir y leer, pero yo no puedo oír.
Okay.
So that's my problem. It's like hearing it is just like,
yeah, no.
That's where I lose it all. So
gotcha,
my Spanish teacher from Guatemala is definitely shaking her head right now. So okay, so we've talked about your transition. We've talked about as far as what people should expect and better ways to be able to interact with the drilling engineer, because everybody, because I know that you guys are getting hit by hundreds of different vendors all at the same time, and everybody's trying to be able to peek out from the crowd. So let's shift gears a little bit. What is the future role of the drilling engineer, and how do you see that changing going forward? I know that we talked to Marco last week from Weatherford, who's a global drilling engineering manager at Weatherford, and how he looks at it from the service side. How do you look at it from being involved in the operator side?
Yeah, so I would say, I think the main thing from a drilling engineer standpoint is, and this has been true always, is, I think probably 5 years ago, your responsibilities and roles were probably for kind of a multi-rig responsibility, whether that's, up to 3 to 4 rigs. I think companies now are seeing value in having one engineer per rig. And this is true because you need to develop relationship with your field personnel, with your company men. And if you've got ideas in a certain way that you're going to want to drill a well, and you want to repeat that, you've got to have the same guys. You've got to deliver the same message over and over. And so I think companies are starting to be like, okay, if we load this guy up with multiple rigs, he's not going to be able to have the same impact that he would with having one rig, because if you have a one rig responsibility, you're able to call that rig multiple times a day, talk to the company man. When a trial is going on or you're trying something different parameters, you're just focused in on that one rig. As soon as you get to, over 2 rigs, I would say you're kind of more doing paperwork to stay in front of that, and you're doing less engineering. So I think from an operator standpoint, giving a one rig responsibility is really, really important to allow that engineer to grow with the rig, to grow with the team, and to really be involved very closely at it. And then when you're making a field visit, you're not having to worry about visiting, 3 or 4 rigs. You're worried about that one rig and seeing those guys, even meeting the guys on the team that are actually, from the roughnecks all the way to the drillers, and being there and making a face for yourself. And that's how you build a team. That's how you build a strong team. And those are always your top performers, is when you get buy-in on every level. So I would say the future of drilling engineering is, probably being more focused on a single project, and then being adaptable, being able to drill anywhere, because, if depending on the portfolio of whatever company that you're working for, you might have to go drill Oklahoma for gas and then go to Texas for oil, depending on what kind of mix they have, and being able to build a program pretty quickly and then going out and executing, and having that option is going to make you more sellable as a drilling engineer. And sometimes you're not really sure, like the company's not really sure where it's going or what the plans are for you. So being adaptable is definitely something that you need as a strength as a drilling engineer to going forward.
So I have to put this up here real quick. Dan Greaser says, great show, David. Look forward to seeing you at upcoming AADE event. Which AADE event? And then I'm going to also say this, Dane, I would love to have you on the show, sir. So if you're ever ready, we'd love to have you on the show. And then Dane also says, good luck on your search, Chris. Hopefully right landing spot comes soon. So great stuff from him. So one of the things you just mentioned was, being involved whenever you're doing a trial. So let me ask you this. When it comes to trialing something new, we all know, especially from the service side, it's really hard to be able to get that new product down hole. What is the information? What is the package to be able to put together that, not so much just having the relationship, maybe it's with a company you already have, what's the best way to be able to, I guess, reduce the risk or be able to entice the operator and be involved with getting that new product down hole and getting things tested?
So I would say developing a plan for the trial, right? So, and already saying, okay, this is what we're going to call a success. This is what we're going to call a failure. If we achieve X number, ROP, then we say, okay, we're happy with the result, or whatever product you're trying. If you and the engineer need to have already decided before anything goes in the hole what you consider a success and a failure. And to me, having that before the trial happening versus just saying, okay, yeah, let's put it in the ground, let's see what happens. And then everybody's going to finger point, right? So having those goals, criteria all determined before you ever even pick up the tool, I think that's the number one important thing when you're doing a trial.
Excellent. And so back to kind of what we were talking about just a minute ago, Clay asked this question. I have seen operators use drilling engineers to be the DSM virtually using cameras. Is this something we are going to see more in the future?
I would say, it's an interesting idea, but I would say that you always are going to need someone on location that is your eyes and ears, because cameras are fine and everything, but there's always something that you're going to miss without being there in the field. And also building that team in the field is important. So I would say long-term, I probably don't see that being viable, but who knows, if you get an automated rig with no one there, and you can do stuff remotely, then maybe, but I would say technology has to come a long way before being able to do that.
So also to circle back on one of the things you had asked or said is, getting buy-in from the team. what's the best way, do you think, to be able to go about making sure that, everybody on location, from, the motor hands up to the directional driller and company man, are all bought into the idea and philosophy of, how to drill the well, the processes, the procedures, the different things that are going on? Because I know for certain my cases that I've been out at the rig that, somebody's like, why are we still drilling this? Why haven't we cased this point? We're making the same mistakes we made on the last one. How do you go about, when you are the drilling engineer, to be that leader, to be able to get everybody on the same page and to get everybody bought into the singular vision?
Yeah. So, I mean, field visits are important because you're never going to have a phone call with those guys. It's just not going to happen. So being able to go out there and being available for comments or relaying, that information through your DSM is important too. So, I would say, to get buy-in from the whole team, you need to be like, something that I always use is, whenever we're doing a trial, I would say I would put something on Word or make a document that says, okay, this is what we're trying to do, and have the DSM print that, put it in the driller's cabin. That way everyone on location is able to see, here's what we're going to do. Here's the forward plan. And if it's a trial, this is what we're looking to do. And that way people, if they're interested on knowing what's going on or what the plan is, they're able to go to the driller's cabin and just kind of see, what you have going on.
So with that, what was one of the biggest successes you ever had, while being a drilling engineer?
Yeah, so I would say implementing a parameter roadmap. So something that we really saw, especially when I moved to the Bakken asset, is we had 4 rigs drilling the time that I entered that play. And what I noticed from the softwares that we had that are able to kind of join all the information and look, is that, depending on the rig, depending on that company man, depending on what day it was, the vertical section was getting drilled in, different ways, right? So being able to implement a parameter roadmap and being able to get feedback from the field on what we should be running here, what weight, what RPM, what flow rate, what are the hazards to the bit in certain sections, being able to work with them to build a standard and have every rig drill the intermediate the same way. That's where we saw our biggest gains. And, we used Fred Dupree's applied physics, making sure that we understood what our founder's point is, utilizing MSC, those types of things. And the main thing there is, again, we printed out step tests, how to implement those, and we had those in the driller's cabin, making sure that they were following those steps through each section. And I think, being able to implement that is very difficult. And if you've ever read Oxy's paper in Delaware Basin, they went through the same struggles, and they were able to really break through in that section as well.
Well, I know a little bit about Fred Dupree's. We've had him on the show 3 times now. So if anybody's curious about any of Fred Dupree's teachings, if you haven't seen anything about him, the very first podcast, livecast, webcast, any cast, whatever he did was on this show. So go back and check that out. There's actually a playlist that I put on the YouTube channel that's just the 3 videos that we've done with Fred. And it's not there yet, but I can tease it to be able to say at some point in time in the future, we're going to do a whole series with Fred. Like, not just 2 or 3 little video clips, like a bunch. So stay tuned for that. That'll be some great stuff. So it's great to be able to hear that you guys were able to implement that and be able to put all of that together and be able to make those big changes. Going forward, you were talking about there at the beginning that, y'all were using some of the different softwares. Going forward with drilling engineering, with the aspect of data and softwares that are being used, what more do you think can be done in that area to be able to improve either the overall drilling efficiency, drilling performance, or just the day-to-day life of a drilling engineer?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a few different things. I think you'll see drilling contractors like H&P and Neighbors take more of a lion's share of things. I think you're already seeing them. They've made quite a bit of acquisitions, as you can see. Both on kind of like the Neighbors Navigator Pilot and the H&P Auto Slide. So they're kind of already trying to encompass more, right, and to become one of your more one-shop stops. So as far as that goes, I see that the drilling contractors are going to take more of a responsibility to deliver things to the drilling engineer. And I think before, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, as a drilling engineer, you never talked to the drilling contractor. Once you selected the rig, okay, the DSM would handle, or the superintendent would handle all the discussions with the drilling contractor. Now, what I'm seeing, I would say in the last 2 years, is there's a lot more discussion between the drilling engineer and the drilling contractor, because they're playing into a lot more. And as you see more type of contracts with performance type bonuses, and those, like, the drilling contractors are going to be a lot more involved with the day-to-day, making sure that the rig's performing, being able to supply softwares, being able to have a direct impact on the day-to-day type things. So that's kind of how I see it. I see more of the flow of the software and the solutions being provided by drilling contractors, because that's kind of how it's felt recently in the industry.
So you bring something up that I've been dying to ask, and I don't know why I didn't write this down or remember this, but performance-based contracts. Do you see going forward that there's more of a need, or that the operator side would be more accepting of a performance-based contract? So, historically we've done, directional drilling, MWD, a lot of the different services that are out at the rig, it's been dollars per day. Do you see that being able to move over to dollars per foot, and more operators and or service companies being able to implement that?
Yeah, no, I really do, because like I said at the beginning, as an operator, drilling's never going to make your company. You just want to reduce risk, right? So more of your dollars, they see drilling as an expense, right? As an operator. So if you can do something that you can have repeatable and say, like, this is the amount that we're going to pay, and just be able to repeat that's important. So having these contracts set up to where it's something that's consistent, deliverable, and that you're able to achieve over and over again, that's something that's from an operator standpoint, that's really something that you'd be interested in, because like I said, the drilling to them is not very high on the totem pole. It's something that they want to make sure that they're doing at a, as I'm talking U.S. land here, right? That they're doing at a level that they can repeat over and over again, and understand what dollars are coming out of that budget. That way they can account for everything else that needs to be done, right? So.
I mean, it's always kind of boggled my mind. It's like, I've never seen in a basin or an application. Granted, I've only been in the industry for so many years. I know that people have been around a lot longer. A lot of people watch the show. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But have we ever gotten slower in drilling? And I think we haven't. Like, we've always progressed and gotten faster and faster. So it always kind of like boggled my mind. Why don't we do dollars per foot? Because if we have any faith in ourselves and our ability to perform, we would only get faster and faster and faster, which would only increase margins more and more and more. So I always thought, like, as far as the aspect for a directional drilling company, if we plan a well for 20,000 feet, we know that we should be drilling about 20,000 feet. The well plan's only going to be off by, a couple of percent, if that. We could tell the operator exactly how much it's going to cost to drill that one. And then it's up to us and, everybody else at the rig site to be a team and to be able to drill it as fast as possible. So do you see that as a possibility? Do you see that like these maybe people being able to change that? I know it's kind of the same question, but do you really think that could happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you'd have to obviously sell it to the operator, but in their eyes, they're not taking really any more risk because they're used to paying a day rate, right? So if the well goes longer, it's kind of on you guys if you want to go that route. But if it's an application that's that you think you can be repeatable and deliver and just get better and better, then absolutely. I think it's a win-win situation for both parties. And I think, obviously there's red tape with certain companies, but I could definitely see, the industry going that way.
Well, I'd like to be able to say we had John Clegg on the show back in December, and John talked about there's different ways to be able to innovate, and he had like a little graph and stuff. There's this, and one of them was just changing the business model. And in a commoditized market like it is, maybe just changing the business model might be the thing that really gets the operator's attention and gives you the opportunity to do the work, as opposed to always having to come out with a new gizmo gadget, new mousetrap. So real quick, we've gotten a handful of questions. So I'm going to ask one of these questions, and then we're going to bring Keith in. Keith has got a question for you. So let me pull this one back up. Where did it go? All right. During well planning, what are the appropriate mechanisms of projecting and offset well data to a planned well location?
So we
gotta ask the tough ones.
Yeah, I know. So honestly, all that information is available on the state's website, and being able, whenever I was planning a well, being able to pull the, a certain radius offset wells, and then you're able to pull that survey data from the website, and then enter it into your compass model, and then also have it checked by your well planner, making sure that you guys aren't missing anything, and then making sure that you've got the correct error model selected, and that's kind of how we would manage offset wells.
That sounds amazing. That's coming from a wireline guy, so that's why I always love coming into the show and listening to this stuff. It's always been a great learning experience. I know we don't know each other well, Chris, but as you know, I'm a fellow job seeker looking around. That's why I'm coming, hanging out with David, and trying to learn as much as I can from him. A couple questions as coming from that, background. Have you noticed, have you been getting more requests for interviews or anything like that now that the price of oil's coming up, activity seems to be picking up a little bit?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely opportunities on the horizons. I don't think I think companies are being, as far as operators go, they're being definitely more fiscally conservative this go around. I don't see anybody really, saying, okay, once oil hits $60, $65, we're going to just gear up to another 10 rigs or something. There's kind of a different thought now from the operator side. It's definitely more about just providing value to shareholders and being able to deliver that in a fiscally responsible manner. And so what that means is just being able to have a strategy that takes you years out. So you don't want to drill your top acreage all at once, right? You want to be smart about the way you do it. So I think that's why you kind of see, okay, there's some upside here, but it's not you won't ever see like what happened 5 years ago when, in 2017, where you had all these companies gearing back up with all these rigs. I think there will be rigs that are going to be picked up, but it's going to be at a slower pace because everybody has the big picture, and like a big showing of that is like operators aren't even providing production data on their initial slides, where in the past that was like the top thing, is like making sure that you're increasing your production, making sure that you're chasing more growth. And now if you look at every operator's statement, they're just talking about more sustained and not even growth, just sustain or maintenance level, and talking about more just like maintaining and not really growth. Nobody's really like saying that they want to grow all these operation or grow all this production.
Do you think with the current administration, their real big push towards green energy, they might have an incentive to have oil prices raised, to some prices we haven't seen in a long time? Do you think if we hit a $90 or something like that, do you think a lot of those perceptions will get thrown out the window and they'll look to cash in on trying to gain back some of the losses they've had over the last few years?
I'd say it's possible, but it's tough to gear up in a second, because now with the restrictions that are being put on by the government, it makes it harder to really like have all those permits filed, have everything together, have all your facilities and piping in place. And it just makes it really difficult to gear up in a hot minute, right? It's something that needs to be planned out and more calculated than just being reliant on oil price.
Fair enough. One last question I got for you, as a fellow job seeker. Have you ever encountered, like, do people treat you any differently? Like, do they see you because you're still looking or anything like that? Do they treat you like, oh, you don't have a job for a reason? Like on the service side, there is sometimes a stigma, definitely, that you should, if you were really good, you would already have a job. Do you ever encounter that, from the operator or old colleagues, something like that? Maybe not, not someone saying that to your face, but you just kind of get that feeling?
Yeah, I think that's, and probably in your own head, you probably build that up as well. I would say, be confident in who you are as a person. Once the right opportunity comes up, once the right company finds you, it's going to be something that's going to be worth the wait. And I would say you can't worry about what other people are thinking. You can't live your life like that. You just gotta, you gotta really just try to promote yourself, be confident in who you are, and then not worry about all the background noise that's happening right now. So I would say stick with it, Keith. You're doing a great job of promoting yourself. I've seen it on LinkedIn, and I know you'll land somewhere that's, and you have to make sure that it's a fit and matches what you're looking for too, right? Interviews are always a two-way street, and the company needs to be the right fit.
No, definitely. I agree. I definitely see lots of positive signs out there. I just, taking advantage of this opportunity as someone from a different side of the street and getting a different perspective. And I really appreciate what David's done for me, and I appreciate the time you're giving me as well. So I'll let everybody get back to the guy they actually want to see, David. And thanks again, David.
Thanks. Wait.
Oh,
thanks, Keith.
Or technical difficulties.
All right. Sorry about that. I should apologize. We're having fun here.
Yeah.
It's my show. We could do this. At least now Chris doesn't have his clock in the background that just says 10:30 all the time.
Yeah. I had to move from that spot.
So I want to put it up. I want to put this up there, and I'm gonna preface this before I put this up there, because if I don't, I'm gonna get a phone call right after the show about why I'm wrong. So I admit I can be wrong a lot, right? I can have technical difficulties, all these things. This is what's different about this show than any others, right? We're willing to go with it. So Here's what Graham says. Graham says, cost per put places optimization process on ROP that may not necessarily improve or reduce cycle time. Emphasis should be on cost per section that I believe will be more appropriate. When cycle time goes down, cost per section also goes down. Chris, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so I guess from my recent opportunity, we had a few benchmarks with the drilling contractor, and they were spud to TD, right? They were drilling connections. They were things that you could control as a vendor, right? So having benchmarks and KPIs that are because I would say some of them were in control and some of them weren't, because if you do just a flat spud to TD, if you've got some type of failure that's not related to the rig, then it's really yeah, then it's really, or motor. I mean, then it's really not on you, but you're encompassing that, right? So I would say be careful when you're putting performance contracts together, because it can also be harmful to both parties. I said win-win, but you've got to make sure it's aligned with both of your goals, and also doesn't just screw one party. You've got to make sure that it would be beneficial to both. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable way to do it by section. That's reasonable, but I would say that it's kind of dependent on the service and how much risk each party's willing to take. So I can't say that bisection would work for every application, but just depending on what you're talking about.
So I have to bring this up. At one point in time, I was trying to sell products to drilling engineers and operators, and I told them, I was like, with this kind of information and this, given our whole little dog and pony show presentation, I said, maybe this could help increase ROP and you can drill wells faster. And the guy looked at me, he says, drilling faster is only like 10% of what we do. He's like, can you actually help the rig move faster? Because that's the biggest gap in what we're doing. So with that, do you think one of the biggest unforeseen areas or one of the biggest areas for growth and services might be on moving the rig faster or tripping faster?
So moving the rigs come a long way. And as you see, these rigs are getting smaller and smaller, and they're relying on less loads, because at the end of the day, when you're moving from one location to the other, it's all about how many loads do you have to take, and how well everything goes together, and if it's easily repeated. So there's honestly been a lot of growth in that. I don't think you see a lot on that out there, because it's between the operator and the drilling contractor and the trucking company, and we're having constant after action reviews with the truck drivers and the drilling contractor, and say, well, if we would have done this different, if we would have had 24-hour operations on this, we could have saved time here. But I would say I've seen rig moves really reduce significantly, like in the last 2 years. I would say it's come a long way. But there's always something to improve. There's always something else that you can provide to. But I would say that your target there wouldn't necessarily be the oil company. It would probably be more like either the trucking company or the rig contractor that would be able to provide that, and then they would be able to sell rig moves, or just say, hey, I can move my rig 25% faster or something like that because of this technique, right? So
and so, because I'm completely oblivious to this, how many loads it was a normal number of loads, let's say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, versus what we're seeing now as far as moving the rigs?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere, I would remember over 100 loads 5 years ago. And now I would say in the 60s is normal, 50s, 60s. So
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in this business for a while now, but that's still a stat I've never seen. I've never seen anybody, put on there, we did our rig move in 59 loads.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
it's.
I mean, these are
important.
things worth bragging about, I think. I mean,
Yeah, it's strategic, and I think operators are just focused on the days, and then but the trucking companies and the drilling contractors, they have different KPIs that they see, like loads. So it just depends on what side of the business you're on, what you're looking at, and if you can have an understanding of all of them and really be in tune with what everybody's looking at, that's when you can make real progress, I think.
Oscar says it's not streaming properly. I don't know if he's talking about the rig moves or if he's talking about the show. So, guys, if it's not working properly on the show, just one of the things, just jump over to YouTube. YouTube's usually a better spot. I don't know if I can grab that link. Let's see, view on YouTube. Click. Oh, copy. Oh, no, not paste. Damn it. Keith is saying it's okay. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and grab the link anyways, just in case for anybody. Yeah, guys, sometimes YouTube can be the better spot to watch. And I actually had, I should give a shout out here to Ian McCourt, my previous boss. He doesn't like it when I say my old boss, but my prior boss said he watched the RSS event, like the first hour or something of the RSS event, 3 different times on 3 different platforms, just to be able to tell me that Facebook was the best one to watch it on. Facebook gave the highest quality. So I appreciate him doing that, but it was still kind of one of those things that was odd to be able to hear. All right. So let's see if we've got caught up on all the, okay, back things. All right, cool. And transport, another metric Gibson reports to track. So Duck had asked the number of rig loads and times to DTM, demobilize, transport, mobilize, another metric for Gibson reports to track. 100%. I will track anything and everything if y'all will just share the data. There's only so much data that I can get that is public, right? But if operators want to see rotary steerable versus conventional, I'll track it, right? I just need the operators to say, yeah, we will give you that yes or no. That's all I'm looking for. There's a tons of stuff that I could do, and I would put it out there for free. I don't need to make money on some of this stuff, you guys. Literally, I would do this stuff for free if you would just share the data with me, putting it out there. It's hard for Drilling Info to compete with somebody when they'll do it for free. You want to talk about bottom scrapers? I'm going to be the ultimate at that, right? So, anyways, okay, that was kind of go back to the same question. Streaming is fine now. Is not streaming. I'm trying to. I know we had some other questions in here. I'm just not seeing it. Flat time is the biggest opportunity for improvements in many cases when drilling ROP has become so fast. Any thoughts on that one, Chris?
Yeah, so that kind of builds into the performance contract, right? So we had skid time as a metric as part of a bonus that you could hit, and then there's just a lot of different ways you can go about that. But we would track our flat times, and we would, not at Marathon, but at another company, we would say, hey, this is our expectation, this is our average. What did we come in at? Why did we come in at that? How could we have done it better? So, if there was problems with the cement job, if something, wasn't plumbed in right, if there's, broken cement truck, cement pump truck, there's different things that happen every time, right? So making sure that you're tracking those and making sure that it's not something that you're repeating over and over, and finding those types of consistent downtime is what we would always search for. If it's a one-off, nothing really you can do about it. But if it's something consistent that you're like, okay, this is costing us 2-3 hours a well, we can easily eliminate that. I think when you're looking at more mature kind of drilling programs, that's what you're looking for, is things that are being repeated as downtime, or that's just slowing you down, and finding those opportunities. I think as a drilling engineer, that's one of your main objectives.
So LinkedIn user John DeWart says, agreed with 6th gen semi for the first time last year, and the tripping times were abysmal. Or used a 6th gen semi. Get semi rig.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in, John. Appreciate that. DSAroadmap.org and DSABach.org. He's doing the drilling systems automation technical section. A lot of really interesting stuff that John Oort's put out there. All right, so Chris, wrap up here. Anything that you want to let the audience know? Obviously, we've probably got a lot of service vendors and other people out there who are normally probably calling on you nonstop. Anything out there that you want to put out there, or a plug that you would like to do for yourself?
No, I just appreciate you having me on, and it's always good to have these conversations. And I'm really a driller through and through. It's what I've done in my career, and I enjoy listening to what the future of drilling is. And I think you've kind of gone all around the subject of we're getting more automated. There's going to be less people on location. Technology is the future, and if you're not seeing that, then you're going to get left behind. So just being able to be adaptable, to learn, and when I'm looking for someone to be to be a DSM or to work with me, I'm looking for someone who's open and willing to try new things and not saying no, because that's gonna take you to the next level. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing here in this platform, is people that are willing to, take those risks and take those opportunities and excel with doing things a different way, right? So
I agree, sir. So with the last little bit here that we've got, I'm going to do this one more time because I want to have fun with this. Back on the Suez Canal, they're still fighting with each other. It's getting kind of rough out here. Guys, be careful. King Kong. Ah, damn, now I'm out of focus. Ah! Bigfoot is just a fuzzy creature running the countryside. It's not my joke. That's a Mitch Hedberg joke. So, Chris, thanks so much for being here, man. Really do appreciate it. Guys, check it out. I got a green screen working. I got the green screen working. It's awesome. Let me click this little button. Maybe it'll look a little bit better. How about right there? There it goes. That looks even better. Oh, now if I move just a little bit, it gets kind of funky. Oh, I was supposed to turn this light on. There it goes. Live from the Suez Canal. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, you guys, so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Big thanks to Keith Stelter, because I said it wrong for like the first 5 episodes. Thank you, Keith, for being here. Really do appreciate it. He's been helping me out here behind the scenes and being the co-host. Trying to get him all up to speed on kind of all the stuff we're doing here. Hint, hint. And I should say this, for anybody that's watching that's in a hiring position or that knows of a drilling engineering position or some contract work. Obviously, Chris has got a lot of things going. If you're looking for somebody to be able to join your team, I think Chris is an amazing hire. If I had the money, obviously, I'd hire him myself and bring him onto the Gibson Reports team. What would we do? I don't know. But I just think he's a great individual. He was absolutely 100% patient. And you can see that in today's broadcast. We had tons of problems, and he just rolled right with it. Wasn't even a speed bump on the tarmac of his success today. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in and watching. I really, really, really do appreciate it. Thanks for putting these shows on. This is definitely a show today. We're going to do some more cool stuff. Like I said, we got the green screen working. I'm so excited about this. There's a green screen in the studio now. So anyways, guys, Chris, thanks for being here. Everybody else. I don't have it ready yet. Boop, 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 boop. As always, know your industry.